sometimes end up getting talked in circles and leave without really fully understanding. So we're here tonight to get resolution for whoever wants it. We're here tonight to get your questions answered. So call upon me if you feel like if you haven't gotten your questions answered by the developer, frankly. So the purpose of our presentation tonight, one, we want to get you reacquainted with this property. The town, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, did a lot of planning work in this area of town, and then nothing happened. Here we are, and we have a proposal in front of us that we need to vet as a community. So I'm going to reacquaint you with that property, talk about some facts and figures, talk about the history. We're going to hear from the contract purchaser / potential developer of this property. They have an idea, they have a proposal, and they spent a lot of time working on it and perfecting this presentation to make it something that everybody can understand and that we can work together to figure out. And to have your questions answered and to share ideas as you may have them. So, what property are we talking about? This is what we know largely as the Midtown Shopping Center. It was dubbed the Spring Street redevelopment area in 2008 and designated at that point the whole redevelopment area itself, which goes from Midtown Shopping Center all the way down to the edge of Spring Street Electrical Supply, across the street from Water Street, which is the street that runs along Headquarters Plaza, all the way back up toward Morris Street, and a number of stores up along Morris Street across the street from the Grasshopper. So that's the whole redevelopment area. Really what we're talking about is a 5-acre piece, really, the shopping center itself. This is what you have. You have a front yard parking lot, pretty large parking area along Morris Street, one center, strip retail in the back, and yeah, as you know, Spring Street curves around the bend there. And I will say that this, if you look at the way that Morristown has grown and has developed over the years, this site is somewhat of an anomaly. It's different than the rest of the properties of the town. It is not, this place with a sidewalk and a storefront or something like that. It's a place that really, in my opinion, responded to the highway coming in back in the 60s and 70s. We have a highway, 287. It's been a blessing and a curse for this community, maybe, if I could be honest. And this is the type of land use that you see on highways. And it's one that responded to this high volume of vehicles that became or that were anticipated when this was developed. It used to be an A&P shopping center, or an A&P supermarket, and then it was eventually developed into a multi-tenant shopping center. This is it from above. You could see there the new development, people call it Transit Village or the Highlands. On the right-hand side of the page, you have Spring Hills Nursing Home in the back, and then the little outbuilding where 7-Eleven and a multitude of tenants have been on that side, and then the main shopping center there on the right. This is Spring Street. You're going to hear a lot tonight about traffic. This street was very, very, very studied. Because I'll tell you that when they came into town and said we want to do an office building here, we said we're not going to even talk to you until you come back with something that will meaningfully move the needle on traffic here. Because you'll see how, we all know how bad it is. And we now have documentary evidence, and we've quantified it. And we think that there's a viable solution to do something real and meaningful, not just change the signals a little bit or put up a sign or paint some new stripes. That's what you do when you don't have the firepower, frankly, that this town has, that this developer has with this project. So that is the one of the main things I think that this brings forward as an opportunity for the community. So just to give you some history, in 2004, 15 years ago, this property was classified in need of redevelopment, and without nerding out on planning stuff right now, that means that it was considered to be a blighted area under the law. That it's an area that was considered obsolete or arranged in a faulty way, something that the town recognized that they needed to take some extra powers beyond zoning, beyond typical planning work, and have a much more hands-on approach. This was 15 years ago, okay? In 2008, the redevelopment plan was adopted. I'll talk a little bit about what that meant. In 2014, I see a lot of people here that I've seen before. I'm sure some of you participated in the master plan. I know Linda did. And we talked a lot about this area during the master plan process 5 years ago, and how a lot of people felt like it was somewhat of a barrier that blocked one community from another in Morristown. That it was not a place that people felt like it was walkable along the street there, because you're stuck sort of between this very busy road and a parking lot. And it, like in other places in town, that isn't the case. So there were things that were discussed as part of the master plan. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We had one project approved. I think it's around 25 apartments. They're under construction now for those that have been down Spring Street recently at the corner of Spring and Water. And then 2019, this M Station project is coming before you. So the plan objectives, to eliminate blight, as I mentioned, to make efficient use of a central location. It really is like sort of in the heart of Morristown. It's right next to the train station. It's, you know, a block from the green. It doesn't feel that way, if I'm being honest. It's right near South Street. You know, take a quick 2 blocks down Pine Street. You're right at South Street. To spur economic development, improve the public realm, and foster great design. So these were the permitted uses: apartments, retail, outdoor dining. We had testimony on this last week or 2 weeks ago in front of the council. The gentleman who wrote this plan and came before the council, he was the planner for the town, and said, frankly, we didn't know what to do when we did this redevelopment area. There was nothing obvious. There was no obvious answer of something here. The market was in a weird place. I don't know anybody who's lived through 2008, like I lost my job, and it was a weird economy. And they didn't know, so they just sort of put a generic plan together. They put an 8-story hotel, I'll show you that in a second, but basically 275 to 325 residential units, retail, office, and a hotel. This was the layout. And you know, one of the things as a planner, as your planner, that jumps out at me immediately is like this, still having a surface parking lot in the front. It's still somewhat not a best practice as to what we have today, or what planners sort of push for today. But this was the site that was approved. These were some of the heights. So 8-story hotel, mixed use, office. Again, they didn't really know. A parking garage back here toward the nursing home and the river. Mixed use and residential as you went down Spring Street. The master plan talked about that the plan was adopted in 2008, but that it really did need to be redone. That most people didn't like the way the plan was drawn. This was a sketch that the master plan designers came up with here, of creating this like center boulevard with buildings flanked by buildings on both sides. You'll see, it's somewhat based on that, what you're going to see tonight, but it's evolved even further. So, I'm curious, and I think other people who might present to you also might be curious, why everybody's here tonight. So you're going to have a chance after this presentation to, you know, open mic night. But right now, I'm just wondering, people that are here, that were drawn here because of traffic, and because they heard something about this weird roundabout donut thing. Like, if you could just by a show of hands, people that are primarily here because they're concerned about traffic. People that, and these are all things that I've heard for the past 2 weeks. People that are primarily here because they're concerned about the scale and character of buildings. Okay. People that are here because they're concerned about existing retailers and the use of existing retail and the convenience and amenities that they provide. Okay. Pretty good mix. All right. Well, I think I've done my job. I appreciate your time. I will I'll leave it now.
This is usually when Phil runs away and hides somewhere. I get to get the slings and arrows. I'm really excited to see all of you here. This is terrific. This is a great turnout. Contrary to the Nixle police alert, there is nothing bad happening here. This is all good stuff. So I come to you tonight. I'm the attorney for the developer. I'm a partner at Riker Danzig at Headquarters Plaza, but I'm also a resident. I live off of James Street, and that's where my wife and I bought our house 12 years ago, and we're raising our kids there. So, and many of you have seen me before. We've been down this road with the hotel. We've been down this road with Vertical, recently with Morris Street with the 85 units. So it's you know, I know a lot of you, and I really do hope, like we've had at those meetings, we have a really respectful exchange of ideas and opinions, because you know we're all neighbors here. So this is great. I see a lot of friends. I see frenemies. Marge, you're here. You're my frenemy. That means I'm a friend, and you know what that means. Yeah. Marge is one of the great Morristown citizens. Seriously, one of the great. So what we're here to talk about tonight is M Station, and M Station is a project that you will hear this evening will impact this entire community, and you're all going to be a part of it. This project's going to deliver office space for first class tenants. It's going to deliver a roundabout that's going to solve a traffic problem that we've all sat in for years and years. It's also going to deliver some new retail to this site, and we're going to get to that in a minute because, you know, I know some of you are here to talk about the existing retail. You know, my kids think that the Mars Pizzeria has the best slices in Morristown. And they also, we're at Panera once every 2 weeks for mac and cheese kids. So I get it. We are sensitive to that, and we understand that a lot of people rely upon those stores and go there almost on a daily basis. So we understand the impact from that. I might as well jump to it. I was going to talk about it later, but you have my personal promise that we are going to make an unprecedented effort to keep those businesses in Morristown and in close proximity to this site. Jennifer Waring's here tonight. Jen's over there. She's the executive director of the Morristown Partnership. Now Jen and I have been talking this week. She's already talking to the existing retail there about where they can relocate. There's about 30 vacancies in Morristown in the storefronts, about 5 restaurants that are vacant. We have space in Morristown, and we hope to be able to keep these businesses. I mean, as you can see up here, I've been to Macho Nacho more times than you can possibly imagine.
What about Burger King?
Once in a while.
What about, what about Burger King? Is that going to be staying?
Well, we don't know. We don't know yet.
Okay.
Yes, because we're just beginning these conversations.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about what an office project like this. Let's talk about the impact that this project will have. You're talking about a tenant like Deloitte. You've heard the name. They're pursuing the lease of this property. The Deloitte, for example, I mean, there's other tenants that are pursuing this property, but a tenant like Deloitte, Google it. They're like the most community-minded corporation in America. They make significant investments in the community. Significant. We're not talking about just sponsoring T-shirts or for the Little League teams, which is great. I mean, they have jobs programs, mentoring. They help disadvantaged youths in the town, and that's just one of these tenants. We're expecting to have at least a few of these quality tenants in Morristown. We've never had the interest from these tenants in Morristown. Why are they interested in Morristown? They're interested in Morristown because of what we have and the people who live here. We're the amenity. We're the thing that all these businesses want. And we should be very proud of that. And you know, the Phil mentioned before, this redevelopment site has been basically dormant for years and years. We have a developer in SJP, Peter Brunsnick's here for the developer. He's back there. They do office, that's what they do, and they do it better than anyone. And so we're gonna talk about these buildings and what they look like, and you know, I know a lot of you are concerned about height and scale. You're gonna hear tonight that the reason why these buildings look the way they look is, number one, they look this way because they're beautiful and they're flexible. We tried squashing these buildings down to 5 stories. When you squash these buildings down to 5 stories, they get really big and really ugly. And you gotta move them right up to the street. We've looked at these options. What this height gives you, it gives you a 45-foot wide streetscape. That's going to change the entire character of this street. You're going to have opportunities for public spaces, park, just walking. It's going to create this avenue from this part of the town up to the green, which we've been missing for years. The height also is going to give you the opportunity to have a roundabout. We're going to get into this a lot more later. This roundabout, I mean, I was on the internet looking at some of the comments that maybe some of you made, and one of the comments was, traffic circles don't work. And that was it. And like there were 10 comments and they're like, yeah, traffic circles suck. The roundabout that we're proposing tonight works. And if you think a developer is going to make an investment like this, by the way, the greatest investment by any developer in the history of this town, and give us a roundabout, you damn well know, sure, they've tested it and they know it works. And we're going to show you where it is in other towns. Princeton, other places where it works. Because that bottleneck intersection is truly one of the great issues we have in Morristown as far as traffic is concerned. That's what the height gives you. You saw the plan that Phil just put up. The plan, which has been around for 10, 15 years, shows 8 to 10 stories. We're not asking for 10 stories. We have one tower that's at 6 stories and the other tower at 8 stories. That's what we're asking for. Headquarters Plaza, the building I work in, the West Tower, is 12 stories. So, okay, well, look, I don't disagree that Headquarters Plaza doesn't look too great, but I will tell you this. That project since 1980 has supported and fueled retail in this town better than anything we have. If it wasn't for Headquarters Plaza, you would see twice the number of vacancies in our retail sector. I know because me and my partners, we go out to lunch every day. I mean, make your own judgments about that. But, I mean, we eat out every day and we support the restaurants and our colleagues, we're all out there and we're spending money. This will, let me get back to my point. First, the West Tower is 12 stories. Phase 1 is 6 stories. The second tower on this new project is 8 stories. The height is 15 stories. Roughly half the height, half the stories. So you're talking about a project that's half the stories of Headquarters Plaza, but that's going to deliver an amazing public amenity, streetscape, roundabout, all of the things that our residents can benefit from and that can attract a big name tenant like Deloitte and similar companies. So, yeah, sure.
Why does the height of the building determine the fact that there's a roundabout?
Because it's about, and our traffic engineers can talk about more of this too, it's about the amount of space you have. When you push the buildings
Why
up.
can't you push the building? Why can't you have less space? You just need a certain, is it a certain income that's necessary to do the property?
So I'll let SJP answer that.
Okay.
So these buildings are designed for the tenants because they require certain floor plates and a certain amount of space. And to get tenants of a certain size, you need, and this, look, we'd love to have more.
So you need to maximize what
You need to maximize what you have and still make it beautiful, which we think it is beautiful. We think it's a beautiful project. I can't emphasize enough, we're talking about 1,000 daytime workers. 1,000 daytime workers that are going to be eating at our restaurants, going to our shops, they're going to be needing catering, services, and they're all high-paying jobs, most of them. And so they're going to be hitting our streets and supporting our town. This is a project that we're looking at to help support 50 years of the future of Morristown. Don't forget, Morristown is the county seat. It's one of the designated law centers in New Jersey. It's the center of business activity. We want it to stay that way. And what you can't do is let opportunities like this slip by. And the stars have aligned with this developer. They're willing to make an unprecedented investment in this town, and it will really keep us in the game for years to come. And it's different. Look, I've been with you guys on the apartment projects. We've approved a lot of apartments in the last 10 years. And we've built apartments. So I hear the grumblings. People saying, there are too many apartments. I think there's too many apartments. We've heard you, and this is different. This is a completely different use. and a use that's going to, like I said, have so many secondary benefits for years and years to come. A kid in a studio apartment, he's not doing much for the town. He gets up, takes a shower, goes to New York, comes back at night, maybe goes to a restaurant and goes to bed. These people will be in our town spending money, and that's what we need. You know, and the fact that we have a town that these businesses want to be in, it's really a great spot for us. And I'm super excited about it. So with that, we're going to take questions and we're going to take comments after our presentation. We'll try to keep it tight, okay? But I mean, if you have a burning question that you really can't wait, I guess one of our people can call on you. But with that, I'm going to turn this over to Roger Smith. He's our architect.
Morristown.